Okay, Justin Honaman, welcome to the Joy
Well, I'm
CEO
here.
show. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. I mean, I was looking forward to this counting down this week to
Counting
talk to
down.
you. So thanks for the invite. Yeah,
You
thanks for
know
the
that
invite.
this is the inaugural show. You,
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like we should do some sort of celebration.
we should, it should be
You know,
confetti and balloons and Justice
yeah.
Honaman, number one
Oh
guest.
my God,
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
And there's
It's
a
so great.
reason I chose you to be my number one guest
Oh boy.
because you
Okay,
had
tell me
such an
why.
impact on my career when we were together at Coca-Cola. It's been 15 years that we've known each other,
Woo!
15
Crazy.
years that you
Time
interviewed
flies.
me in the Fifth Avenue office.
Yep.
And I joined the retail team and you
Yep.
became my manager. And we just built out this amazing team together.
We did. Yeah. We, at the time, we were at Coca-Cola together. I was there for 10 years. And Lori, how long were you there? I can't remember your
15,
duration.
15.
15. Okay. So we put together a business development team for specialty retail. And it was so great because, it was one of those times of a good reorg. Like we had an opportunity to put the right people in the right seats on the team. And I never forget, I think we had a quick phone call and then I came to New York, we met and I'm like, start tomorrow.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
it was great.
Yes, it was kismet that at
That
first
was
sight.
amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
And, you were very impactful to me because you saw me through a really tumultuous time in my life. You were my manager during the
Right.
loss of my mom.
Yes,
And
I remember.
yes, and that was, her sickness came on very quickly. We thought she had a backache. 5 weeks later, she passed away. And you managed me through that whole time that, hey, Justin, I've got to go. I've got to go to Boston. Hey, Justin, I'm just
Hmm.
not sure what's happening. And you really gave me a lot of grace during that. You want to talk about what your leadership style is like to
Yeah.
manage somebody through that kind of a situation?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's be clear. I mean, family first, right? And I've dealt with this personally recently, but also I have several of my team members here at Amazon now where, we're at the age where, parents have illnesses, parents have, complications, and there's different things that happen in your family with your sons or daughters or whatnot. And so, you know, I think a good leader gives space to any individual that needs it. And it's a win-win for everybody, right? The person needs that space, take the stress off. Hey, Lori, I got your meetings for you. I think I got the customer meetings, no big deal. You just let me know what you need. And then also, it's a win for us knowing that, at the time you'd come back in a better place than where you were. And I think one thing also to think about is everybody's got things going on. And so as a leader, giving people space to deal with personal situations is important. And it actually makes it better for that person, makes it better for the organization, makes it better for the team. And quite frankly, as the leader, I think then it makes it easier by creating a better team environment like that.
I couldn't agree more. And it's those types of partnerships when you're a leader and you can come together and say, hey, we're going to get through this together. Whew.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, how would you have known? Like it was early days. Like I was thinking about that before we hit record. And I have a team member now. I'll use an example. A couple weeks ago, his family's in India, so like him needing to rush to see mom is or dad is like it's a 2 day flight, right? And but I told him a couple weeks ago, I was like, dude, you just say go and you tell me, and we got it. And that's just the way it should be. And I don't think people take advantage or take they don't take advantage of the situation in a negative way.
No.
Most people really appreciate that.
Yeah. And as you can tell, my mom's been gone 13 years, and
I know.
13 years later, I still fully appreciate that about you and our
Well,
relationship at
thank you.
that time. Yes. I mean, it speaks volumes because I have heard the nightmare stories where, somebody was not given that grace, not given that latitude. And, they're trying to
It's
work and do
ridiculous.
meetings from a hospital and, trying to be in two places at once. And it's impossible.
Yeah. Well, I think that would be a real challenge. And I mean, and we're go-getters. I know you are, obviously, so am I. Like I have a hard time putting down, the phone or I carry, the laptop and iPad everywhere. And during that time also, because I just went through this, as you know, having a moment to not be looking at your phone, your email and text and Slack and whatever else, to spend it with your mom in her final days or weeks, or a family member that's got a real issue, a health issue, is important. And if you're sitting there, your phone ringing and trying to reply to emails, later, I think you'll regret that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I agree. I agree. So that was one of the many things I really grew to love about Justin Honaman.
Well, thank you.
And, so we got through that, you and I, and then it was maybe a year later, big reorg comes and our whole team is disbanded. And you and I both end up leaving the company.
That's right.
Talk about that for a minute.
Well, so I'll never forget. So one thing you got to know about big companies is you might think you're really important,
Yes.
but when you're out, the company's still going. The company's
Yes.
gonna be just fine. So
Yes.
somebody told me that once. They're like, Justin, I know that you think you're really important, but if you leave, like, Coca-Cola company is still going to be around.
Those
And
trucks
so,
still keep on moving.
the trucks are still going. Yeah, listen, I think everyone's got to. If you work for a big company, you've got to kind of be willing to flex and adapt, and being adaptable and flexible is a really great trait. And it's not easy because we all get comfortable or we like what we're doing. And so during that time, Coke had started a reorg. This is around 2013, just for those that might know the industry. And actually started what became almost an annual reorg of the Coke operating environment, whatnot. So what's hard is just, we had such a good team. We had great results. We had really good customer engagement. We had a good model that we were leveraging, but this stuff happens. And so, you landed just fine. And I think I was in a role leading retail consumer goods at a big analytics company, like a week or two later, fortunately, through relationships and whatnot. And I was back at Coke. They were a customer of mine. So you just, I always tell my team, even now, it's like, you gotta be flexible. Reorg next week. Okay, go with the flow. Just kind of don't be so precious about org structure and titles and things like that, because I think you're taking out a lot of additional stress. And then also, I think it puts you in a better position to kind of go after the next thing if things don't work out. So yeah, it was hard because we had built our team, all of us, not just our group, if you remember the broader group, especially retail. We had such an incredible, we had great leader and great leaders across the group and great culture, but things change. So anyway, and what's funny is I think we're still friends with most of that group today.
We are. Yes.
10 plus years later. So
it's really relationships that matter. It's forming those solid relationships and keeping those.
Yeah. In my world of business development, relationships really are how we built customer engagement here at Amazon. Relationships are what have opened the new doors for us. And this team, they opened doors for us back at Coca-Cola through people we knew, or people that trusted us, or people that liked the way we engaged. I think if you get too wound up in selling in the numbers and the technology, the pack sizes and whatnot, at the end of the day, people still want a relationship with the business. So especially at Coca-Cola, it is a relationship brand. Same thing with Amazon.
Very much so. And you're very good at some out of the box thinking. What could be a very traditional sell with a very iconic brand, you were able to really bring some vigor to. Want to talk about that for a minute?
That's interesting. It's so funny. So for those that might be listening, like, this is stuff I never talk about. So this is interesting. So, and I did not get the questions ahead of time.
No.
Okay. So interesting. The first thing that came to mind was when I got to Coke and moved into the role leading business development. The one thing I was most interested in is what assets do we have across what we call the Coca-Cola system? Could we leverage to build a better partnership with a retailer? So, or what can we bring that the retailer might not expect? So I'll give an example. Lori and I worked on a customer at the time. It's called Toys R Us, and they're not around anymore. By the way, for those that may not know, actually they are. Their brand is making a bit of a comeback. But so we were talking about a beverage program. The easy answer would have been bring in sheet of paper, with the numbers. Here's your cases of product, and here's the dollars we would invest, and here's your price and whatnot. But we didn't just do that. We realized we had assets at the Coke company that we could leverage, right? There was brand assets, there's marketing assets, there's marketing dollars, there was sports investments, there's, investments with what was called My Coke Rewards, the loyalty program that they could be a part of. There was, so you think about like, there was a way to think about the in-store experience that was unique and different. So we could do custom bottles. In fact, here's one right here. And so,
That.
and so Brandon, yeah, remember this?
Yes,
So
I
funny,
still
so
have
I'm-
it. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, like, so all of a sudden, like, oh wow, these guys have thought about our customer in the store and also giving us pricing. Like, these are like this is a partnership that I'm thinking about here versus just a transaction. And I think that's what was interesting and fun about it. And what was really cool was to see people like you, Lori, and our broader team like crafting that story and then taking that to retailers. And it was so fun when, we'd bring that type of approach in because it was totally unexpected, right? And I think what it showed was we did our homework. We thought about the retailer's customer. We thought about the retailer and how we could help them drive revenue and experience. And then, we tied it up with, hey, you're getting us, you're getting this partnership that is unique.
Yeah, it was really amazing.
Right?
We ventured on another unique partnership together, you and I.
Yeah.
That was really your brainchild in that we did something really unique with NRF.
Oh, yeah. So National Retail Federation, for those in retail, you're very familiar. It's the largest retail event of the year. And so what we were doing was thinking about like, how do we engage where our customers are engaging? How do we kind of a one to many, or like we're the one and they're the many? Like, where can we go and be involved that they're going to be there and we can engage them in a unique way? And so, all the retailers are at that event. And so what started off as a very small, hey, we should bring in some coolers and some of our kind of the activation, I'll call it, for those that are familiar with the industry. That's kind of the, how do you bring branding into an environment, show a retailer how you would do it. It became, it literally had a life of its own internally at Coke, as they thought, wow, this would be a great opportunity to showcase many parts of what we do in retail. And I mean, that drove a lot of what we call top of funnel engagement, a lot of new relationships. Retailers were surprised that we were there. We were the only beverage company there. We, ended up with, presentations and opportunities to build thought leadership with retailers. That was so unique. And it was a great experience. And to this day, the NRF team still talks about that. It was unique.
Yeah, so fun, and really had many touch points throughout the whole organization, and
Totally
grew beyond what even I think you and I thought.
Yeah, I mean, we had all parts of Coke were interested in this. It was something that hadn't been done before. And again, it was kind of thinking outside the box, right?
Yeah.
Think differently and to create a new relationship.
And I think you and I could go on and on. There was a partnership with Home Shopping Network.
That's amazing.
Right. That was an amazing partnership. And I think that speaks to who you are and the way that you think about branding, and you brand yourself pretty uniquely. Let's talk about your thoughts on personal branding, how you approach it, and how you might coach somebody else about personal branding.
Yeah. So personal branding has been around a long time. The concept is not new. The methods of building your brand, I think, have evolved. I mean, if you all look at what Lori has done in building not only the company, but kind of this brand, literally you've done that. And not just by putting up an Instagram site or sending some emails to a couple of friends. I mean, like, you got people helping you message, and then you're creating environments for leaders to connect and grow, right? You're adding value, you're bringing something of value. So I think you're a great example of that. And quite frankly, for me, I have always had a creative outlet. So this is a Justin thing. It's not like how I would tell everyone to build their brand, because not everyone has a creative outlet or a creative bent. But I've always had a real interest in writing, and I love music and singing. I like thinking, I just automatically start thinking about the bottle could be designed a different way, or we should leverage this group and bring them to a customer that doesn't normally come. So that's part of me. I have that creative, I don't call it a gene, creative angle to my personality. So, and here's what's interesting: if I'm not getting enough of it at work, I go deeper into creative activities outside of work. So that's a Justin thing. So Yeah, my personal brand would be, not only what I deliver in my day job, but what I do outside of work. And we could spend a lot of time on that. And Laura, you're doing that. You're infusing your personal brand with your work. You kind of, it's become your day job. And a lot of people have done that. Not everyone done it successfully. You have. So I think that's what's really cool. For those that are thinking about their own brand, I mean, there's a lot of great reading out there on the topic. I've written a lot of material on it. I need to refresh some of my material on it because it's changed so much. The methods of doing it have changed so much. But I think knowing what you're passionate about, knowing what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, or development opportunities as well, and you start thinking about, am I in the right place to go leverage those, and am I making a difference by leveraging my superpowers or my things I'm best at, right? So those are kind of leveraging your brand to drive benefit, whether it be at work or outside of work. That's just a bit of thinking on it.
Yeah, and in the 15 years I've known you, you've been really active in this. Like when I first met
Yeah.
you, you were just launching a book.
Mhm.
You were regularly posting on LinkedIn, very,
Yeah.
regularly your thought leadership. And I'm not sure it ever occurred to you to say, hey, maybe I shouldn't do this. What are other people going to think? Instead, you had this very proactive approach to, this is an idea I have that I want to get out there. Doesn't matter what company I'm
Yeah.
working for, this needs to be said. And I think that you'd probably agree that that opens some doors for you.
The question when I wrote a book two books on personal branding and leadership, I'll call it. And yeah, there's no, you know, sounds weird, but if you've got a book, you're probably going to get invited to speak. It's I don't know why. It doesn't matter how good your book is, but you got a book, then you're going to most likely be invited to speak. And I thought, well, I was doing all this blogging, so why can't I just put all those blogs into a book? That's how it started. And I had hundreds of speaking engagements, including at Coca-Cola, which is kind of fun or interesting. The one thing I'll say about creative endeavors is I always kept them separate from the day job. So like I wasn't working on the book, at the office, or I wasn't. I've hosted a podcast for 6 years. Like I don't talk about Amazon on that. If someone brings it up, I let them talk about it, but I'm not going to then infuse my opinion on Amazon or because of my day job. Same thing when I was at Coke, if I was speaking, I wasn't presenting on strategies and whatnot around specialty retail if I was talking about the book. So I think it's important if you have creative outlets or endeavors, go for them. Like you should not let those sit. You love music, you love to play guitar, you love writing, you should do that. You just have to be careful on the day job front. And for me, I went and talked to, I don't know if you knew this, I went and met with PR at Coca-Cola Enterprises to let them know I was releasing I think it was the second book. I can't remember the timing, and I let them read it. I let them see the manuscript. And that also gave me a bit of air cover to ensure that if somebody asked about it, that no big deal.
You had it blessed.
Yeah.
Would you say too that your approach in getting that speaking experience, writing that book, that creative outlet prepared you for where you are today? Because in what I see, Justin, is that you are everywhere speaking. You're doing it for your day job now. You're talking about Amazon. You're on every stage at every event, getting interviewed all the time.
Well, first of all, I have so much fun with it. So
Yes.
I have such a great time taking ideas or a question and bringing content and thinking about how like that content translates into something interesting. And yeah, I like one of my superpowers is my energy and enthusiasm. I can't help but to be excited about topics I'm talking about. So, and I think a lot of that delivery has come from practice, and not only just practice, but like preparation and review. So early days, I didn't ever want to watch myself back, or if I was singing on stage at my church, and someone videoed it, I would never watch it. I would just let it lie. It was so good, kind of in my mind. But at some point, I don't know when, I did start watching and listening back to some of my podcasts, for example, how I interviewed people, and I'd be like, I probably could just tweak that one part, or I wish I hadn't said something one way, or just like on stage, you don't realize what you do when you're public speaking sometimes. And so those things were important, I think, to build my ability to be a better communicator. And so I love the practice. So I say yes still to, like, if it's even related to something I can speak on, I'd say yes. I'm not looking to get paid. I just, I just love it for the experience of the practice, and I meet incredible people inevitably. So that's just me though.
I love that. Just say yes. Just say yes. Get the
Yes.
practice. Just say
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one year my word of the year was yes. I copied my wife's. I was like, I'm going to use that too. And so anything that came up, I was, yep, I'm in. Like, before I even check my calendar, I'll do it.
Yes.
You
That's the year
because
I'm in right now. I'm saying
I'm
yes.
saying yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because why not? I mean,
Yes.
get out there, get out of your comfort zone. Like I said, it forces me to prepare, forces me to have new content. Can't be using the same thing all the time. Forces me to do research. I talk a lot now on AI, which we won't talk technical today, but like, I've had so much fun learning about it. And if I only talked about what I knew a year ago, it'd be boring, right? So I've got to like stay ahead of things. I've got to bring things that people want to hear. Yeah, it's exciting.
So exciting. We're just saying yes. Such a good philosophy.
Sometimes you have to say no to say yes, by the way.
Let's talk about that.
Sometimes it's a no for now, but not forever. So there's some, like, an example would be how you spend your time. So you might get invited to be on all kinds of committees and boards or groups, organizations. And if you're like me saying yes to everything, then suddenly I have no time at home. I'm already traveling every week. So then I'm coming home and then I'm going to those meetings, for example. That doesn't work. And so I learned this a couple years ago, this phrase of like saying no for now, but not forever. So like maybe right now I can't do the board or the committee or the role or the organization or the gift, but that doesn't mean I can't do it forever. I mean, at some point I may have time. So you got to say yes, good. Also manage time, and prioritization is also important.
What do you do to get really clear on what's important to you in those priorities?
Usually I say yes and then realize setting that.
Oh,
There's been a couple of yeses where I've gotten involved and, I went to the first meeting or two and I'm like, this is not where I should be spending my time. That's one thing. Number two would be, like, I have things I'm passionate about. I've learned that if I'm not passionate about the topic, the organization, then I really shouldn't get involved. And I've done a good job of saying no to some of those things.
Yeah.
Like, if it's because inevitably you're going to feel like you're wasting time or you're not adding value, right? Or you're not going to really take the extra time to dive in. So I think that those are two things. Like, I've made some mistakes, but also I've done a good job putting some guardrails around, like, what am I most passionate about. I'd say if there was a third area to think about in terms of prioritizing your time or investment, like, who do you want to be around, or who are you going to learn from? And are you in an environment where you're around people that you're not the smartest person in the room, you can learn and grow personally. I mean, or you can coast. You want to coast and coast. But I mean, I don't know about you. I'm not in coast mode.
No, not in coast mode.
No.
What do you do about mentorship? Do you get involved in groups? Do you have a mentor? What's your philosophy on that?
That's an interesting question. I thought about this actually the last few weeks because, sometimes you read like, there's some organizations that couch themselves as, hey, this is a mentorship group, or, this, if you get involved in this, you're going to progress in a certain way and whatnot. I have not had, like, John Smith is my mentor for many years that has helped me to get to where I am today. I would say I have incredible relationships with individuals that have invested in me, and also, they've helped me in specific ways. I don't know that, like, they're not like lifelong mentors. So I think you'd be careful with that a bit. And I think there's some, there's confusion in the market, if you want to call it about that. I'll give you a couple of examples of people that have really helped me, or, have been people that I'd go to ask for advice. I actually learned this term about 10 or 15 years ago. I wrote this in my first book around having a personal advisory board. I like that concept versus, John Smith, the mentor. So I'll give you an example. A couple people, like my current boss, Ravi, I met him when I was at Coke, right? So we've kept in touch over time, but he is a great mentor. And, like, helping me navigate Amazon and helped me navigate onboarding in Amazon. Jim Marvel was my boss at Coke and for 7 years. And so like he was a good coach. Like, I was kind of in a developing part of my career and did a great job of being not only a friend, but like helping me to navigate some like just professional things that I just needed to learn and also just learn the Coke system, right? I, I could go to the list for you of people like I'm thinking about kind of my list of personal advisory were people that have helped me with everything from leadership and thinking about how to like what are the qualities to understanding myself. I'd love to do like all those personality profiles and Enneagram and all that. People that introduce me to those concepts. And so I don't know, there's one mentor versus a group of people that you can lean into or call for advice or have a conversation with. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the way I think about mentorship.
100%. I too have that personal advisory board, and it's not one person that's been with me my
No.
whole career, but it's a group. And you're
Yeah.
definitely one of those people on that board of advisors.
You know what I mean? There's the person that taught me about that, his name was Jeff Henderson, and he actually, I don't know if he still does this, but he used to get them together, like even virtually have a meeting where he kind of report out the things he's doing. I don't do that.
Wow.
I know. I was like, but I instead kind of have in my mind and I actually have a list, people that I can call or I'd go to say, okay, Lori, you know me pretty well. Like, here's what I'm thinking. Am I crazy or just something I should be worried about? Or, give me some other perspective. And so, it's great to have that. That's the way I would approach it. And then also it takes the pressure off like one person being this all expert on everything, which they're not.
Yeah. Nobody can
It's
really
not
do
possible.
that. No, yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you and how you take care of yourself. Like you're traveling all the time, you're in some big meetings. So I talk about joy as a profound and holistic sense of well-being and contentment. So we have to take care of ourselves in order to really experience joy. And joy is something within us. It's not something we're chasing, it's not external. Talk about what you do to care for yourself. What does that look like in a fast pace, a high profile position that you're in? And how does joy show up for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just the work. It's like, I like juggling a lot of balls. Like inevitably, I remember the saying, yes, think so. Like that's natural. So for me, I have exercise is a big part of my routine. Like, people will say that, but for me, it's like, if I don't get my exercise in a specific day, that's a problem. Like I feel this angst about it. So like, it's also where I have come up with some of my best ideas. So I do a couple things like just on that front. I'll tell the story because it's kind of funny. So I'm a swimmer. I grew up swimming. I still swim when I'm in town, like with it's called masters groups, basically a bunch of people that are older but it's coached. Like, there's a workout. And then I also do boot camp and I love that. I have had a number of incredible song ideas from during the time that I'm swimming. Okay. Problem with it is the ideas I have to maintain there in the pool.
You can't write it down.
Because if any of you are creative, you know how this is. Like, you might have an idea from them and you'd be like later, like, what was that idea? Like, just imagine a song lyric or a musical phrase or sound. And literally there've been times when I would get out, run over to my phone, hit voice memo and record it. And I still have so many of them right here. So funny. Okay. I'm not sure I would have gotten those if I hadn't had the workout, but I think it also was like, there was none of this around, like you had moments to think you're kind of like in the mode. So I like exercise for me is a big deal, whether I'm traveling or at home. It is part of the routine. And then I think also spending time with family, obviously super important, and having a relationship where you can have conversations and talk about everything. And not everybody has that. And so I'm fortunate to have that, which is wonderful. And also we have a good schedule. We have a way of planning our travel work wise and everything else. And then maybe if there's a third thing, I would say like finding that balance of things to be involved with outside of the day job so that it's not all about work, finding some other things you're really passionate about or things you want to invest in or things you want to spend time on or outlets. And to me, that's a big part of like how I keep the joy level high.
Yes. I also think that having those things outside of work make you more interesting.
So, so the phrase, okay, that's so great. Yeah. When you're interesting, others are interested. So,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, listen, you can't help. I mean, think about it. For those of you who've hired people before, right? Someone has a resume. It's good. Someone has a resume and they've worked interesting places. They've had interesting roles. They also do things outside of work. And oh my God, they also run and they've done these, events, or they are swimmer, or they like playing golf, whatever it is. I mean, or they've created something, they host a podcast, they've written a book, they've written an article. That makes you interesting.
Yes.
When you're interesting,
Yes.
others will be interested. So
Yes. I remember when you were releasing one of your country songs, and it was going to be like Saturday game day song.
Yes.
My boys still talk about that, Justin. They're like, is Justin famous yet? And I'm like, yeah, he's pretty famous.
I don't know about that. So yeah, Saturday in the South was actually one of the first songs I wrote. It was all about college football. And I think that what made it so great was just like I wrote it at tailgate parties, and then it got picked up by Tracy Lawrence, for those who know country music. And then it was on CBS Sports every Saturday. And I think that's where I learned the power of television. I mean, I'd watch the numbers, the downloads, and whatnot. Like from when that song came on, it was just like unbelievable. And most people that are not in the music industry don't realize the power of radio and having a song being used anywhere. It's just unbelievable, the power. So anyway, that was so fun. I wouldn't say famous, but I mean, I've written a lot of fun songs.
So
There's more. I think there's more good ones out that I've written too that could get picked up. But it's tough. There's a lot of people that are in the industry now. So
yeah, so fun.
Yeah.
But it makes you interesting, right? You've written a book,
I think it's interesting.
songs,
Yeah.
got a podcast.
Okay, but so then the flip side of that is, I mean, so no, this guy's got a lot of other things going on. Is he going to focus on the day job?
And I know you focus on the day job.
Oh
my God. I know that personally.
You got so many things. I've heard it's years, not any time recent, but I'll never forget. There was at least one. I was like, you got so many things going on. Do you think this is the way you are?
Yeah. Okay. How do you sell that?
Same. Part of who I am. I'm good at juggling.
Yes.
I'd say talk to my former bosses. They're all ready to take your phone call. So,
yeah.
Literally almost all of them. Paul Beaversey. Okay. Paul, my first boss at Ernst & Young, out of college. Okay. EY. Great friend still to this day. On the customer, on my board, right? Or whatever, my personal advisory board. And a great advisor. He gives it to me tough sometimes in a good way. But like my first boss is willing to take a call. So there you go.
So good. Okay. Everybody listen up. That personal advisory board is critical.
I think it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal. Okay. Any last words for anybody out there who's just trying to navigate getting to their high in their career, doing the things that you're doing? Any advice?
Yeah, I would just say there's no one in comparison. So what we talked about here the last however many minutes is my story, a lot of my story, but it comes down to a lot of it's my personality, right, and a lot of what my strengths are, what my profile is, or my personality profile and whatnot. That may or may not be yours. So like you can listen to this type of content and take something away from it, maybe some advice, maybe some things to think about, maybe some techniques or mechanisms you want to go leverage. Just know no one in comparison. And I've had to learn that hard way. I sometimes fall in the trap being like, why can I do that? Or why is this person, I'm just gotta do what I'm best at.
Yep. So good. All right. We're going to do a quick rapid fire.
Okay. I'm ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I know you're ready. You're always ready. You're game for anything. Okay. What's a habit that keeps you focused and energized? Exercise. What's the most joyful moment in your career so far?
Too many to count.
Too many
to count. Many.
Oh,
I have so many. I mean, like if we just took the time, when we worked together, I mean, you mentioned 3 or 4 of them right there and I could go on. There's at least 4 or 5 others that stand out. And that's over here. I mean, I could tell you my current role. I had so many. Every job I've had amazing experiences, even in places that I didn't stay at very long, and for good reason.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I've had some. It all ties back to people. Even today, most of the roles I'm in, I know at least all are part of that team and have stayed in touch.
It all ties back to people and you continue to stay in touch. That's so important. Yeah, so important. Book or podcast you're loving right now?
Mine.
Yeah, so good. So good. Tell everybody what it is.
The Contender Cast for 6 or 7 years, focused on consumer goods, retail, and food service startups, like all the new guys. Like think about like Soppy, Just Iced Tea, Sweet Loren's, Late July Chips, Kevin's Natural, all the like the brands you see at Costco that are kind of coming out and growing, getting bought. I met some amazing founders, and there's some great stories there. If you like that kind of thing, you would like that podcast.
It's so fun. And yes, and then some of these brands just sell and you met them when and
like, why can't I start Holy Pop or Pop? Like, it seems like I can do that, you know? So.
Okay, last one. One thing people misunderstand about success.
Oh, that's all about title or number of people you manage.
Yes.
And I found that when I'm interviewing people, and especially in my current job, if one of their questions is, well, you know, when will I manage people, or how many people will I manage, or, you know, what will be my title? At least where I work, it just doesn't really, it doesn't, it's not our culture, and also just not how we think about growth, whether it be promotion or growing personally. And so I think, though, our culture teaches us that, you know, we're an individual contributor, then we're a manager, then we should be a senior manager and a director of lots of people. And then the size of organization then translates to, you know, business success. And that's just not the case. There's plenty of people that have their own startup or they're an individual contributor. They're making a bigger impact. So that would be something to think about. And also with that comes title. And you don't have to look much further. If you go look at an agency, you know, everyone's an SVP or an EVP, and like, yeah, that role at Coca-Cola, you know, is limited to like 4 people. So yeah. Those are things to think about.
Isn't that the truth? Yes. So good. Mm-hmm. Oh, Justin, it's always such a pleasure to see you, my friend. Thank you for being my very first guest on the Joy CEO podcast. I wish you all the best. Yes.
Yes. Thank you for having me. It's so great. I want to do it again.
Yes. You will be back. Thank you so much. All right.